All right, we're live. Welcome in, everybody, to a special edition of the Gambler's Den. And it's special because it's on Saturday,
Mhm.
but also because there's no NFL games today. But who wants to have to wake up and do a show on New Year's Day? I didn't really think a lot of people are going to sleep in. This gives a chance for people. Maybe you'll want to watch us on replay at midnight, right? Maybe that's
Mhm.
what people want to do. They wanted to count down with good bets or something. I don't know. But Ross, are you ready to you got 2 weeks. You got to get out of
Yeah.
the hole in this segment. You got 2 weeks to do it. I'm cheering for you more than anything. I think I'm pretty safe of finishing the year up top here.
Mhm.
Are you going to start using the black chip here? Are you going to, what's going to happen here? Are you going to try to push it?
I think so, right? We're gonna have to get a little bit aggressive. I like the Saturday because the Saturday gives you like a day before. It kind of changes the vibes a little bit. So yeah, I think let's close out 2022. It was in a negative, and let's start 2023 with a positive. I feel good about a couple slates on this week, as well as going into week 18 as well. Week 18 could be a little weird because be finalizing some playoff matchups. Some teams could be resting,
Yeah.
but we'll see, right? We kind of got a weird Thursday night game, right? Dak Prescott didn't look really sharp against the Titans that were led by Josh Dobbs, but still they won that game. They didn't cover quite, right? And so
Oh, they did. Well, it
they
depends
did,
on the
right?
line.
Right.
I
It was
think it was 13 and a
14
half
before,
in some
yeah, it was like
spots.
14 before the
Yeah.
game started, right before the game started. Yeah.
So where do you want to go? So and I was just going to mention we're going to do a little pop culture here.
Yes.
And as you started talking about, negative, positive, I was thinking turn a negative into a positive and it's all
Yep.
good, right?
Yep.
So
Yes.
let's get that, let's get going, and we'll rush through a little bit so that we can get to
Yes.
the pop culture. So
Listen, let's just rip the band-aid off. Full orange chip, -3, Jacksonville Jaguars. We've been doing this all year. I love this Jaguars team. They're playing for something. They're not going to rest their guys like the Titans did. The Texans are feisty the last couple of weeks. But I think I think if the Texans are going to win a football game, it's going to come in week 18 against the Colts, not this week. I like the Jaguars a lot this week. They have to win by more than 3 points.
all right, hit it. I love it. I'm going to go a couple road dogs off the top.
Yes.
This is what do you call it? A rat line?
Yes. A rat
Yeah, I'm
line.
going to take it.
Yes.
+3 on the road, Green Bay. I don't
Mhm.
believe in Green Bay. I know that they've been winning games. I don't believe in them. I
Mhm.
am fading the Vikings a little bit. This is a bridge too far for me.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take the +3, and then I'm also gonna take +4 with your fighting Steve Wilkes.
Yes.
The Panthers on the road against a Bucks team that looks like, what are they?
Yeah.
They keep winning some really kind of pulling out games because of Brady. They almost lost to the Trace McSorleys, right? They
Yeah.
almost lost to the Cardinals. That was a painful game to watch.
Mhm.
They probably should have lost that game.
Mhm.
Panthers are playing a little bit better football as of late. +4, it's too much for me. I'm going to take a couple road dogs here. What do you think of those?
I love it. I love them both. I love. Listen, the Panthers. They're feisty. They could be playing for an NFC South championship as well in Week 18. I'm going to that Monday night game, which looks really fun, really
Mhm.
appetizing. I'm getting aggressive again. Orange chip on the over for that football game at 49.5. Listen, this is in Cincinnati. I love both of these offenses. I think that both these teams are going to be able to score some points. A lot of fantasy implications. If you got a fantasy championship, I'm pretty sure you have a few of these guys in this football game between Burrow and Allen and Diggs, who had a goose egg virtually last week. He's going to try and get off the snide. You see that whole thing this week about him in cooking by himself, and then he got sick last week, and everybody thought that because he gave himself food poisoning. I think he'll be okay for Monday night. But
Did
I
you
like
say
points
something
in this
about how
game.
he went to culinary school?
Yes, yes,
What? How do you give yourself
yes,
food poisoning if you
yes.
know the basics?
Yes, but I like points in this game. I like a lot of points in this game.
Yeah, my only hesitation on over under on a game like this is like it gets ratcheted up at like playoff levels, and the Bills
Yeah,
defense is really good. The Bengals
yeah.
defense is a little underrated.
Mhm.
So like that's my only piece there. The over that I like, I'm going to take the over in that Bears game.
Yeah.
52 points is a big number, but
Mhm.
the Lions have a good offense. They're at home. You don't have to worry about weather.
Mhm.
Justin Fields does not have a lot of weapons, but like, who cares? Like, he's getting maybe some guys back. Claypool might play, but Lions defense isn't very good. You would expect the Bears defense to yield a lot of points to this game. They scored a ton of points in the first one. I'm all in on Justin Fields today. You know, you'll see that later. But give me the over on the Bears 52.
I like it. I like it. Give me a blue chip on the Falcons to cover that -5.5. This feels like sneaky blowout game. Listen, Algier, their running back, has been playing well. Drake London has been, outstanding rookie as well this year. But who are the Cardinals starting? David Blau, that's quarterback, right? I think he's starting in this football game.
Yeah.
This just feels like a blowout in Atlanta. I think the Cardinals are dead to rights. JJ Watt is on his way out. He's retiring. Godspeed to him. Hall of Fame career. I think Cliff Kingsbury is also on his way out. Not a Hall of Fame career. he might be coaching a college team next year or somebody's offensive coordinator. But I just feel like the Falcons are going to kind of lay it on the Cardinals. These are two teams going in very different directions, and I think the Falcons are going to blow them out.
I think the reason why this line is anywhere close is because they played the Bucks pretty tough.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, and then they saw it. It was on national television. I think that was the thing. I this is one of my bets as well. I got a full chip on it. I like the Falcons to take care of business here. They're not a good football team, but they're not the terribleness that is Arizona right now. I'm gonna take a big line, and I'm gonna take -9.5 Niners. Raiders are what I thought they were, right? And then the Raiders have bit me a few times this year because they've popped up in weird spots. But the Niners are a really good football team. They're ratcheting it up for the postseason. What the heck is happening with Derek Carr? That is not exactly a benching that I think that his teammates are behind, right? This isn't one of those where the quarterback that no one likes gets benched, everybody cheers, and they play harder for the backup. That's not this situation. That I don't understand what's happening in Oakland, but this seems like they're just ready to skip to the end of the season. So take the better team. It's 9.5 points, but there's such a better team. So I'm putting a chip on that.
Yeah, I don't hesitate to bet on Brock Purdy going on the road again in Las Vegas. I think the 49ers are one of the better football teams in the league, like you said, complete team, Super Bowl aspirations, and the Raiders just look absolutely awful. Josh McDaniels could potentially be another one and done, coach, although I don't know if they want to put that kind of money into that situation again. But all in all, it's a very weird situation there. The Giants could lock up a playoff spot tomorrow against the really bad Colts. And I think they're going to do it. And I'm going to put a blue chip on them to do it emphatically to cover that -6 spread. I think that Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley is looking kind of like himself again. I just think that he's going to be able to run all over that Colts defense. But this is a home game for the Giants. And I think Brian Dable is going to have that team fired up and ready to play and ready to lock in that 6th seed. So I'm going to take them at home emphatically against a really bad Colts team.
I like that a lot. I am going to the game right below it. I like Gardner Minshew. They should have pulled that game out last week, but they didn't. This is at home. This is to seal up the number 1 seed. I think they're going to want to do that. Obviously, they're going to want to do that, but I think that they're going to be able to do that. 5 points against a Saints team that isn't really going anywhere. I mean, yeah, they're kind of still technically alive in the division and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just not worried about it. This is the best roster in the league, top to bottom. And Minshew is a more than capable backup. He, almost took him to it last week against Dallas. Very good game, very close game, but I think they take care of business here. And they win by a score or two.
Absolutely. I like it. Seattle's been really shaky the last couple of weeks, right? Geno Smith's kind of come back down to earth a little bit. I still like them at home this week. Listen, this is a home game for them, and the Jets are coming all the way cross country. Mike White is coming back, but he's going to be rusty. Are those ribs still a situation? I just like Geno Smith at home. I'm going to put a blue chip on them to cover that +1.5 spread. I know the Jets are probably the better football team right now, but I think that the Seahawks will be able to rebound at least for 1 week at home. This is me more so betting on the Jets and Mike White coming off injury, coming across country to Seattle in this football game. I like Geno Smith to be able to take care of business at home in this game.
I'm gonna take an under. It's not exciting, but I'm gonna take an under on this Miami New England game.
Bridgewater, Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, you worry about the Dolphins a little bit. And then if you don't really like the Patriots offense here, they haven't been able to do much. Dolphins defense isn't terrible, right? There's just a lot of elements here. 41 is a lower line, right? I mean, average line is going to be around 43, 45, right? Somewhere around there.
Mhm.
So it's a little lower, but it just feels like Belichick home game late in the season, right?
Mhm.
I feel like this is going to be a low scoring game. So I'm putting a blue chip on there.
You like that? I like that. You like the under in that game. I like the under in that Washington Cleveland game. I'm going to pull a
Hmm.
blue chip on that 40.5. Listen, Deshaun Watson has not looked good since coming off of that suspension. They've been struggling to score points offensively. The Commanders have struggled to score points offensively all year. It's gone from Heineke to Wentz, or it went from Wentz to Heineke to now it's back to Wentz, right? This feels like a heavy dose of Chubb and Brian Robinson, just a lot of clock churning and a very low score football game. I think the Commanders can win the game, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this one at all.
Got another bet?
Give me the Chiefs minus 12
Okay.
and a half. Blue
Blue
chip.
or
Just
orange?
for blue chip. Just for
Okay.
what's and giggles. The Broncos stink. And I think the Chiefs are going to kick it into high gear. This feels like a Pat Mahomes locking in that MVP bet if you got it early on. This feels like one of those games where he might say, "Oh, there it is. There's the 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions and 350 yards from Pat Mahomes at home for the Chiefs." So give me them to win pretty emphatically in this game.
I like it. Let's see here. I think that's it for me. I think I'll leave it there. A lot of blue chips. We used all the blue
Mhm.
chips. And I think that feels right. The only thing Chargers are starting to
Yeah.
move.
Mhm.
Um, Feels like a game that they could just absolutely just fall on their face. But
Mhm.
Rams fans aren't very dedicated either,
Yeah.
right? This is like the one look, both teams play in the stadium. So
Yeah.
it's not really a home field advantage anyway.
Right.
Chargers never have a home field advantage because they don't have any fans. But the Rams fans have abandoned them. They won the Super Bowl last year. Now they're out,
Mhm.
whatever, getting their nails done. I don't know what the Rams fans do, right? But they're not going to bad football games, right? They're
Yeah.
not going to a football game to support their team. That 6.5 is just such a weird line, right? Like
It
that's
is.
the one that I was like, I kind of want to get in on that, but it's weird. It's kind of begging you to bet the Chargers, but anyway, we'll
Yes.
leave it there. I'm kind of like, do I want to grow this to a full chip? I don't know. You know what? I'm just going to leave it. I've been doing a lot better on my blue chip bets than I
Uh-huh.
have on my orange chip bets, which is
Mhm.
part of why that number doesn't increase very much.
Mhm.
I get more of them right, but I don't bet the right amounts. So now I'm second guessing myself. So we'll leave it there. All right, Prize Picks, promo code Bears, 100% deposit match, all that good stuff. Last week, this close
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
25x.
Your boy,
Uh,
Kenny
we
Pickett.
we had we did our normal 5 and then we added the free bet to make it a 6 bet, which would be 25x if you hit them all. And the way that it went through the day, I was 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6, whatever, ready to go with one left. Kenny Pickett. I get to this bar in time to watch Kenny Pickett throw an interception. I knew it when he released the ball. I don't know why. I just knew it was a dangerous pass, and I just was destroyed for this. Because I would have taken a comfortable lead
Mhm.
in this little segment. But it is what
Mhm.
it is. I am within striking distance. So if I do hit a 10x, I would go up, depending on what you do here. So we are live for the last 2 weeks for us to maybe pass the torch here. However, I just will say, if you followed us all year and you tailed us, as the phrase goes, you've done quite well. Like
Yes.
this is very profitable for both of us. And this is this is counting all the juice and all that kind of stuff. This is
Mhm.
so plus, what is that? Plus 29 units. That's pretty good.
Mhm.
So
Good. Good.
let's start it off. You've got Jarrett Stidham.
I do, and 3 of my picks today, I will say are I'm in the fantasy football championship in my league, and so 3 of these picks are based on my guys playing in the fantasy championship. So I'm like, I have to double down and bet on them as well.
Put the
Right?
universe. Yep,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely. Jarrett Stidham is not on my fantasy football team.
That's good.
I'm gonna thoughts and prayers to you, Jarrett Stidham, to going against Bosa and that 49ers defense. I'm taking the under on those passing yards. I don't know where Devontae Adams has been the last couple of weeks. It's been rough going for him. It's just a whole disaster of a situation right now for the Raiders. But the 49ers might have the best defense in football, and Jarrett Stidham is in a really tough spot. I know he and McDaniels know each other well from the New England days, but I still think he's going to struggle. I'm going to take the under in those passing and rushing yards at 213.5.
So you sent me the passing yards. I
Yeah.
couldn't find it, right? So I may have
okay.
taken that off the board. I did find the pass plus rush.
Well, sneaky
So
pick wise, prize picks people.
it's essentially the same bet. So just so know that Ross
He
will
ain't
have,
running either, so it's
he ain't
okay.
running either. No. Like, this is the same bet. This one
Now
might
we're
even
Fred
be
Warner
safer.
sitting. Right now we're Fred Warner sitting there. He's not running.
Yeah, this one might even be safer. So, all right. This is just my love of Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
This is a giant number, and Packers pass defensive playing a little better as of late. It's a giant number, and I'm still taking it. Like, this is just my love of Justin Jefferson and how well he's playing, and how much I think that they want him to be the first wide receiver over 2,000 yards.
Mhm.
I think that they're going to try to push him the ball. They need this game in a lot of ways, right? Like, everybody's talking about the number one seed. I just put out a tweet before we started the show. Everybody's talking about the number one seed. If Philadelphia wins, they lock up the one seed. Like, that's
Mhm.
over.
Mhm.
It's the 2 seed for the Vikings. The 2 seed is really important. Yes, you have to play on opening weekend, but you get the 7th seed coming to you. And then more importantly, you win that football game, you host the next weekend.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to try to beat a better team in the first week and then have to travel to San Francisco.
That's
So it's really important for them to lock down the 2 seed, and they lose the tiebreaker with the Niners. So they don't want to have the same record as the Niners. They really need these games. I think they go for it here. And I think that their best path to winning football games is through Justin Jefferson. I'm just going to keep betting him as long as they put him out there.
He's going to get like 15 targets at least. So absolutely, 100%. He's probably going to have like 11 catches for 110 yards.
I couldn't find the catch. There was no reception available. It was all yards. So take what you like, but I'm all in on Justin Jefferson as long as they give me the bets.
Absolutely. We both got Brian Robinson coming up here. He's on my fantasy team. I need you tomorrow, Brian Robinson. Please get the over on that 78 and a half rushing yards. This feels like a good spot for him against that Cleveland's team. I think that with Carson Wentz under center, I think they're going to lean on him and Gibson heavily. I just think that Brian Robinson is going to be able to really churn out some yards and hopefully get a touchdown as well.
Guess what, my friend?
What's that? Yes, let's go.
Gibson is out.
Oh, I didn't
so this bet is live. This is me reinforcing your bet and saying, yes, not only do I agree with the 78.5, but he's going to score a touchdown as well.
Yes,
so Gibson's out. He was ruled out for injury. So Brian Robinson's all in this week on Brian Robinson. And I believe Erik has him in DFS later. So we are all in on Brian Robinson here.
Yes, we are.
All right. Let's hit Baker.
Yes. Listen, Baker Mayfield looks good with Sean McVay in this offense. Like, he might be the answer long term. We don't know what Matthew Stafford's going to do. He says he wants to come back, but he's got some serious concussions. Whatever the case, right? Baker is probably not Mr. Right, but he's Mr. Right now. And I am taking the over on those 196 and a half passing yards. Listen, I think he can get out in a shootout. I think he can get into a shootout with Justin Herbert. I don't think he's intimidated at all by that situation. This is, like you said, it's going to be a sleepy LA game, kind of a half mixed crowd, kind of a half dead crowd. I just think that both offenses are going to be able to score, put some points up. I like Baker a lot to throw over. He's going to get over 200 yards in this game. Come on.
Baker's not intimidated by anything. Doesn't mean that he's good. He's just like, he's got all the swagger, right? Like, I mean,
he like headbutts people with no helmet on.
He's insane. Yeah, no, I love it. I said that in a column recently. I'm like, Baker Mayfield makes the Rams interesting down the stretch. They now are a volatile team that could win some games. This is when, as Bears fans, you're kind of hoping that they win some games so that they, knock themselves / Detroit out of the out of the draft position. And so he's come through, right? Like, even that 98-yard drive. I mean, that I don't think we talked about it enough. And we like, as football people, it's hard to focus on too much, and it's a bad football team, but that was incredible to come in and do 98-yard touchdown drive to win a game with two days in the building. A lot of points in this game. This is an over-under of 52. That is not because they think that the Lions are going to score 48, right? Like, I mean, they think that these teams are going to score a lot. How are they going to score? They're going to score with Justin Fields doing something, right? Yeah, sure. Maybe Montgomery gets one on the ground. Maybe Khalil Herbert gets one on the ground. I get that. But just Justin Fields' team, he's live anytime he breaks the pocket, and he can still throw touchdowns. Like, this is not a guy who doesn't throw touchdowns. So 1.5, take the over there. He can get in running. He can get in throwing the ball. I don't know. That one to me is my favorite bet from the Bears game this week.
I love it. I wish they had a Justin Fields rushing and passing bet, because I would probably take the over on 300 yards on that bet. It just feels like he's going to be able to have like a 175 through the air, 100 yards on the ground, or 200 through the air. I actually think if Claypool plays, we don't know yet, right? But I think if he does, Justin's going to be able to put the ball up in the air and score against this Detroit defense indoors. The indoors is important. Yeah.
And I think that it's going to be a shootout because the Bears
Yeah.
defense isn't going to be able to stop Detroit.
Mhm.
I'm going to do my next one because we got the same team for the last 3 bets. So
Yes.
you're allowing me, this is
Yes.
wild. You're allowing me to have Travis Etienne here, which
Yes.
this is your guy,
This is
right?
my guy.
And he's going against the worst run defense in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been getting a lot of carries. So
Mm-hmm.
you're handing me this. So I'm a little worried that this is like that you know something that I don't. But I'm going to take the over. 73.5 is not a huge line for a running back in terms of rush yards. If you like the rush plus receiving yards bet, more power to you. I pulled this out because, again, Texans can't really stop anybody on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing tougher lately. I get all that, but like I'm not worried about that necessarily. I think he's going to get his carries 73.5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I love it. I think that I like what Doug Peterson is doing in this football game. He's got a young football team. This game doesn't really matter, but I think he's still going to push the button and go for it really hard and try and get all the momentum in the world going into Week 18 with a big matchup for the Titans. So I think that the Jaguars are going to go all in. I love Travis Etienne all year. He's been outstanding. He's been an underrated fantasy guy. Yes, I think he should be able to get over that 73.5 rushing yards. Another young man I like at running back, Tyler Algier, who's come on strong of late. I need you in this game. Tyler is one of my waiver wire pickups in fantasy football. I need him to get that over 72.5. I feel really good about it, especially going against that David Blau Cardinals team. And like I said in the earlier segment, I think the Falcons are going to blow them out. And I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game from the Falcons. So give me Algier and give me Drake London as well all day, both overs. I think it's a big game from this Falcons team. I think Ritter is going to have a good game as well. Riddler, excuse me.
The Riddler.
The Riddler.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're not going to finish every drive with a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
So I got a couple field goals here. Those are my favorite. You're kind of, again, here's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
You've bet Koo a few times.
Yeah.
I figured I'd bet him as well because I like the matchup. There's a Justin Tucker, one and a half field goal bet out there too. Mm-hmm. Taking the best field goal kicker in the game isn't a bad idea either, particularly when they're not exactly at full strength either. So take a kicker bet. It's kind of fun.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so let's do a special segment here.
Yeah.
And Erik is in the green room. And Erik, if you want to pop in and talk about your favorite pick, this is putting you on the spot, but if you want to pop in, you can give me a thumbs up and we can bring you in for your favorite TV, movie, music, anything like that. So, okay, Erik's telling me maybe not. We'll get him in after. So this is Ross and I. Things that we liked this year. So where do you want to start, Ross? You want to start music, TV, or movies?
We'll start TV shows. I'm a huge TV fan. If you have Apple Plus, they have blessed you with some really fun shows this year. You have Loot on there, which was awesome. I love Loot. For me, I love crime dramas. I love very cerebral shows. Severance this year was absolutely outstanding at the top left-hand corner there. One of the craziest finales to a season one that I've seen in a very, very long time. Very, very dystopian kind of show, very cerebral show. It's absolutely awesome. I forget the guy's name that's the star of the show, Adam something.
Adam Scott,
absolutely. But absolutely awesome show. Blackbird is another awesome show. It's got the guy that was. Have you ever seen Richard Jewell before? The movie, the Clint Eastwood movie about the guy that was he was they said that he bombed the Atlanta.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I know of the movie, but
yes. And then Taylor Edgerton, the actor that played Elton John in the movie, and he's also in those the Kingsman movies as well. But outstanding kind of serial killer, kind of like in the mode of Silence of the Lambs a little bit. The guy goes in there to try and talk to the serial killer to solve some murders and stuff like that. Absolutely awesome show, miniseries. So it's about 8 episodes. You're in, you're out, you get a full completion. And then speaking of miniseries, We Own the City on HBO. The Wire is my favorite show of all time. Yep. David Simon came back. He created a new show, a miniseries about corruption in the Baltimore Police Department during the Freddie Gray situation that happened a couple of years ago in Baltimore. John Bernthal is the star of the show. It's got a lot of actors from The Wire playing different parts and different roles. I was just absolutely captivated by the whole show. It's absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. Bernthal is
awesome.
Basically coming in and throwing 105.
Yes.
And he just doesn't stop.
Yes.
And then you got the actor that played Marlowe.
Yes.
He's coming in and he's basically Greg Maddux.
Yes.
He is painting corners. Like there is nothing fast. So it's kind of a fascinating show because you have this difference in acting styles too that really blend really well together. It's a very interesting show. I haven't finished Severance, so please don't tell me that. The ending there, Loot was fine. Like Loot, it's a fun show. It's lighthearted. This is actually about Ron Funches.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen him featured in something. Like I've heard him on Conan's podcast, like, around, he's kind of funny. He's amazing in this show. He's so funny. Every time he says something, I'm dying. Like, it's just like, I love it. This was a breakout year for Ron Funches for me. I don't know if other people had kind of were on him or not. Talk about a really fun show that is different. Murderville. Will Arnett. I love Will Arnett, but it's so random. Like, it came out of nowhere and just surprised me, and it was fun. The best episode is Marshawn Lynch by a mile. Marshawn kills it, but it's this, like, they kind of take him through this unscripted sort of scenario, and then the famous person that he's with, that Will Arnett's with, has to guess who the murderer is or whatever, who the who the culprit is by the end. So it's kind of like a Clue kind of thing that they go, but there's this it's so creative. I think it's stolen from a British thing, but like he does a really great job with it. I think all the episodes are worth watching, but the Marshawn one is my favorite. And then I have two more shows, Reacher, and I will say total mid show.
Yeah.
Like, it is a mid show. Do not get your expectations up, but this is a really fun novel series that's out there. And Tom Cruise tried to do this in movies, and he is god awful.
He's bad Jack Reacher. Yes.
It is a bad Reacher of Tom Cruise. It was just that's where somebody needed to be in his ear and say, you can't be Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
This dude is. Like, he absolutely brought it to life, personified it. It was fantastic. But you have to go in with the expectation of, like, this is a mid show, right? And there's one actor that's kind of terrible. That's like maybe the third lead, and then the female lead with him is actually pretty good. So again, it's not perfect. I want to see more of it, but that dude totally embodied that. And then I got to give a shout out to this Our Flag Means Death. HBO show comedy came out of nowhere. I had no idea where the show was going. It's really funny. It provided a lot of fun, different humor every week. So that one's worth checking out if you got HBO. So kick it back to you from movies.
Absolutely. So I'm a huge movie aficionado, like, just really high end. I'm a big cinephile. These are not the best movies of the year, in my opinion, but these are the movies I had the most fun watching this year. And we got to kick it off with the aforementioned Tom Cruise. Listen, he did it. Top Gun Maverick is the biggest movie of the year. It's made, almost $2 billion. He pushed hard to make it come out in theaters and not go straight to streaming. The guy is over 60 years old, and listen, what I love about this movie is it's real. There's no CGI. There's no green screen. There's none of that nonsense that we see from Marvel movies now and stuff like that, where I know it was shot on a back lot in Atlanta and stuff like that, right? This felt real. This felt authentic. I love the whole nondescript. We don't even know the enemy that they're fighting. I don't know what they're going to get.
It's all.
It's right. It's just all vague.
It is not. The plot cost $5.
Yes.
There is no money spent on dialogue or plot development. None of that.
It is the most. Yes, it's the most rewatchable movie of the year. It's so much fun. It is now on Paramount Plus, and it has broken records as the most streaming movie of all time to come out within the first couple weeks. It's just a lot of fun. And I always tell people you have to appreciate greatness in the moment because you never know where you're going to see it again. I just don't think that we'll ever have another Tom Cruise, that a guy that's like 60 years old jumping out of airplanes, and he's about to do another Mission Impossible movie where he's jumping out of helicopters and cliffs, and we just don't see that anymore. All these
This is
people
like
have
Tom Brady,
stuntmen.
essentially,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. All these people have stuntmen and they do CGI and stuff like that. So that's the most fun I had in movies all year. Speaking of which, if you're into that multiverse stuff that you see from Marvel movies, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is I think right now maybe leading for Best Picture in the Oscars. We'll see in a couple months. Michelle Yeoh is absolutely outstanding in this movie. This is a very fun multiverse style movie. It is also streaming right now. I think it's on Peacock. But it was a huge hit in the movie theaters. It's a breath of fresh air from a movie. It's a movie that typically doesn't get made anymore, but it's a lot of fun. And I went to go see The Menu in movie theaters by myself a couple weeks ago. It's a slim 145 minutes. It's or an hour 45 minutes. Excuse me.
Well, I was like, whoa,
It's,
2.5 hours.
Yeah. It's Ralph Fiennes versus Anya Taylor-Joy, and those two are just going head to head. She's a star. She's a superstar in the making. We saw her in Queen's Gambit, and she did like Last Night in Soho, and she's been in a couple other movies. She's been in The Northman this year. She's absolutely outstanding in this movie. Very fun movie. It's kind of a very meta rift on how we take a look at the upscale culinary scene and how very rich people, what they do with their money, which I see Knives Out, Glass Onion on your list, which is also kind of a similar, it's very similar style. You could probably do a double feature with these two movies, The Menu and Glass Onion.
Give me all the Anya Taylor-Joy shares. Right, I love her. Right, she's amazing. She's fantastic. So Glass Onion. So this is, again, most people probably have seen it. Netflix, very accessible. Most people have it. But to just say that my expectations for the first Knives Out was like, what is this? What are we seeing here? And it was a lot of fun, and I really liked it. Went back and rewatched it somewhat recently, and I was like, oh, it holds up. It's still fun, right? Like it's still a fun movie to watch as a rewatchable. And so when this came out, we watched it right away, and I just found myself just having fun. It was just fun. Like the humor was spot on. There was a lot of, I just enjoyed it. I'm a big Ed Norton fan, so that doesn't hurt, right? When you got actors that you really like. It's just a fun movie, and I think it has the potential to be a really fun series. I have a list. I mean, I'm so busy during football season that I just don't get to watch a lot of movies. I've got a list. There's a ton of movies I want to watch, and I'm just not there yet. So we'll finish up with music. You are much more the tastemaker of music. So these are the album covers, the 3 that you sent me. So tell me about the music, and then I will give one recommendation or one reflection more than anything.
I'm a huge music fan. I can go all over the place in terms of genres. I picked hip hop here specifically. These are my 3 favorite hip hop albums of the year. We got a Kendrick Lamar album this year. Anytime you get a Kendrick Lamar album, it feels like a treat. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, outstanding project. He released it as a double disc album, but we don't actually get double discs anymore because we stream everything. But outstanding album. Pusha T just talks about selling cocaine for like 90 minutes over Pharrell beats. It's still great. It's Almost Dry is on there. And my third one is the vibe that if you've never heard of Vince Staples before, you're about to, because he's got a few TV shows coming out this year. He's about to be a huge star. He made his name as a hip hop artist, though. Ramona Park, Stole My Heart is just a beautiful project. It's very melody, a lot of melodies on there. He's singing a little bit, he's rapping a little bit. Very childish Gambino vibes. Donald Glover, who's now a big star. I think that Vince Staples is going to follow in that path going forward. So when you hear Vince Staples' name in 2023, please go back and listen to Ramona Park, Stole My Heart. It's an outstanding album from this year. Very West Coast centric, chill vibe.
So that's great. I was reflecting on music lately. I'm very much into TV. I think this is a really cool golden age of TV. You get a lot of really creative projects. I used to work in a movie store. Like I used to watch every movie that came out when I was in high school. Like we had a cheap dollar theater that we go to. That was what we did as friends. Friend group would always go there. I watched a ton of movies. Can't do that necessarily as much as I used to. Music used to be really important, and I kind of realized that music to me now has more turned into utility.
Mhm.
And music was important to people that were important to me. And
Mhm.
that's why certain music is important. My mom's a huge music fan. She's been to a ton of live concerts. Very important to her. My
Mhm.
grandpa was really into music. He'd play me old records, old jazz records, old symphony records, as you know, in addition to some of the other stuff, teach me about music. So I have an appreciation for music, but it's not as important to me as it is for utility. And one of
Yep.
the things that I use music for is when I run, I listen to a lot of music. And I think One Republic is probably a group that people think is like really poppy and like
Mhm.
make fun of me for bringing
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
I understand they're probably not cool. Like this is not me saying that they're cool or this is inventive, but this song, Sunshine, it kind of describes my 2022,
Mhm.
and the lyrics really meant something to me.
Mhm.
And I just the worst thing in the world is to read out lyrics, but I kind of want to here. Um, uh, Care a little less, just a little bit. Like life is woohoo, like you're celebrating. I'm making more, just a little bit. Spend a little more to get rid of it. Smile a little more, and I'm into it. And I just kind of feel like this has been a very good year for me in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
I've really kind of taken control of my life in a lot of ways. And career wise, I was in a bad place last year, and I'm in a much better place this year. And health wise, I was in a bad place last year, and I'm in a much better place this year. And I've just tried to reflect this. And I heard this song, and it just sort of describes what my 2022 was. And I love it when it comes on when I'm out for a run.
Mhm.
It's got a great beat per minute, and it's got a really good message, and it's fun. And so that's my music recommendation. Is that this sort of helped me this year.
I love it. One Republic also has a song called "Run," so you can add
They
that to
do.
your list.
That one I've known about. That one came out years ago. So yeah.
And they have a song in Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, there we go. It's all ties
So it
together.
all
So are they
comes full
kind of like
circle.
a? I could see people thinking that that's a really like old, middle-aged white guy recommendation. Like,
It's a very mainstream, but it's
okay,
like it's right down the middle, right? It's kind of like Imagine Dragons, right? You're always you're never going to be disappointed with what you get. So I love it. Great year, very well said, and hopefully we can turn a corner to next year, and everybody has a very happy, healthy, safe 2023. Hopefully the greater days are on the horizon for our Chicago Bears, and we're able to hit some draft picks and hit some free agency and make that Jacksonville Jaguars type jump to be competing for a playoff spot next year. So yeah, and hopefully starting tomorrow, everybody, you guys should tail me because I have a good feeling this week that I'm going to get out of the negative, and we're gonna win some money to start 2023. I
yeah,
like
let's
it.
do it. Let's get on a good note. So, all right, Ross, thanks for
All right,
this.
brother.
This was a fun little diversion,
Absolutely.
and we'll
Thank you.
we'll see you next week.
Yep. See ya.
All right, Eric, I'm gonna hang on this. I'm gonna hang on this. Hey, how you doing? And
Good.
then
How
I'm
are you?
gonna and you look like you got a different background. So you're on the road
Yeah, I'm
warrior.
on the road. If you can hear me, I'm doing a good job. So it's a
Yeah, I can
different
hear you just
setup.
fine.
Okay, perfect.
Pop culture. You and I maybe similar in some of these things,
Yeah.
but anything that pops out to you before we go on to football stuff.
And this is why I shook my head. I'm the type that watches Game of Thrones like 6 years after it comes out. I
Okay.
just started watching Ted Lasso recently, so I'm
Okay.
really with the times here, Jeff. So
Okay.
that's part of the problem here. So yeah, as far as TV, I just kind of catching whatever my wife's watching and bits and pieces of that. But movies, I'm way behind. We were watching the Star Wars prequels recently, so you know what I mean. Like this isn't nothing modern here. But went to a couple good concerts this year. I love music, love getting out and checking out some shows. So that's more my wheelhouse than new movies for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Let's talk daily fantasy. So last week, I kind of came out with a kind of a crazy bet, and it cashed, did well. And so, I'm on a little bit of a roll here. I don't seem to be cashing them at a high, like a high mark. But I have been cashing. So let's talk about this. We have no overlap.
wow.
Only the second time this year. And I think it's because I said I'm going to get Justin Fields and Travis Kelce in a lineup, and I'm going to make it work.
Right.
So that's what I did. I wanted Fields because I think that he could have just a monster game. Yes, I'm playing him in my fantasy league, my third place game. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the Devin Singletary call, Devin Singletary over DeAndre Hopkins cost me, but it is what it is. So I'm playing Fields tomorrow, and I feel pretty good about that. going up against the worst defense in the league in terms of against fantasy quarterbacks. He burned them the first time around. I think he is going to be the reason why they can have any chance in this football game. And so I started with Fields, and then when it came to tight ends, this just felt like a Kelsey Giant game. They're going to be at home against Denver. Denver hasn't been very good against tight ends, and just Kelsey just eats these divisional opponents. And so I just wanted to start there. That's where I spent my money. And I don't know, reflections on that, and then kind of tell me how you started off yours.
Yeah, I mean, I've been forcing Kelsey lately, and I finally went away from it this week. It's probably bad because he just hasn't been scoring the touchdowns, and we know that's going to turn around eventually. So you're probably right to pick this back up after I bailed on it after a few straight weeks. But no, I love that. I mean, obviously, I was a little high on Fields last week, and he kind of let us down. So I think it's just a matter of a better matchup here. I thought about stacking that Bears and Lions game. There could be some nice points in that one. So I was kind of going back and forth. Actually, you see my receivers here, Devontae Smith and DJ Chark. I was kind of going back and forth on Minshew or Goff in that one. I ended up landing on Gardner Minshew. I just think that Eagles offense is such a machine. It doesn't even matter who's under center. So I just feel really comfortable in them putting up points. I actually had Evan Ingram as my tight end and then kind of flexed off him to Goddard just for the stack here with Minshew. But no, that's what I was looking at. It's a little rough this week because we've got Burrow and Josh Allen not on the slate. We've got Jalen Hurts injured, missing out maybe a couple other options, Dak Prescott. So it was a little hard for me at quarterback this week. It was kind of like Fields or Minshew or Goff. Those were the main targets for me.
Yeah, we talked about ETN in the first part of the show with the prop bet. And, again, just going against the worst defense in the league against running backs. Yeah. You'd assume Jacksonville probably has the lead in this game. I'm not going to necessarily say that the Texans can't win this game because they're starting to play pretty good football or competitive football here in the last month, and you don't want to overlook them necessarily. But again, you can't really fake that run defense. That's something that that can be exposed. ETN has been getting a lot more carries. He's healthy. He looks pretty good. I think that's a nice spot for him. And then Williams against the Bears. Bears defense can't stop anybody in any way they want to do it. They really can't stop the run. And so I don't know. The Lions are going to be able to move the ball however they want, right? You want to get in on this. Williams has been their goal line back all year. I know this way too well because I have DeAndre Swift on my fantasy team. So you assume there's going to be a lot of points. And if there's going to be a lot of points, Williams is probably going to get some of them. And so this seemed to me like a pretty good bet on some touchdown spikes. 6,600 for him in this lineup is not that big of a deal. That's a pretty cheap play. So I went mid on my running backs, but I like both of them a lot.
Yeah, and I actually had ETN in my lineup, and then I pivoted down to Brian Robinson, but just to save some money so I could fit a little more in my flex. But Jacksonville seems like they're going to play all their starters and play them throughout the game. They're really looking forward to Week 18, but Doug Peterson sounds like they're going to play this like it's a real game. So as long as he's getting 4 quarters of snaps, ETN has a huge chance against Houston. So I love that. I kind of locked in James Conner at 8,000. I just like the price. I'm pretty high on him this week. Obviously, it's a bad quarterback situation, but he has been quarterback proof. He is playing 95% of the snaps. He's scoring 25 points with Trace McSorley at quarterback. He's just getting fed the ball because they don't have very many options. So he's one of those ugly plays that you probably don't want to watch the game. But at the end of the day, he's got 6 catches and a touchdown, and it works out. So I kind of locked him in. And then Robinson was kind of a late pivot with Antonio Gibson ruled out. So he's going to get all the work against a bad Cleveland run defense. So I think there's a lot of upside there. And I've really liked what I've seen from both Robinson and Gibson this year, really. They just vulture each other's work. So let's hope that Robinson soaks up a bunch of that, scores a couple touchdowns. And then I was happy down at flex. I know Najee Harris against Baltimore. It's not a great matchup, but 6,500, he's getting a ton of volume. He scores touchdowns. He doesn't have spike weeks, but I felt like for that price at the flex spot, that feels like 12 plus points for me, and we'll see. Crazy things happen. Maybe they put up a fight against Baltimore and he gets you a 20 burger.
Robinson's a great play. I like that one the best. And once we learned that Gibson was out, which I didn't learn until after I set my lineup, but once that happens, that's a huge play. I bet you there are going to be a lot of people on it, but that's also a good play, right? Ross and I both picked Robinson in our prop bets. Ross had the yardage, and then I added the touchdown spike. I think he's going to have a nice game. So I think that's a good way to play. I took Herbert in my flex, and Herbert didn't do anything last week. So I feel like that's probably why he's cheap. But this is his second week back from injury. This is going against, the Lions, which, okay, whatever. But I think he's going to get his carries this week, which he did not last week. And, the Bears are getting a little healthier up front. This is the cheapest play I could get. I had to find something. And you hope that Herbert breaks off a couple chunk runs, maybe one of them finds the end zone. So that's what that's all about. It's not really, I don't know anything more than anybody else. I just think that the market is kind of at, saying this is a good stab in the dark. The Dobbs play, which again, I don't like Packers, but the Romeo Dobbs play here, Minnesota's defense, no one talks about it, but Minnesota's defense is terrible. And if the Packers are going to win, they're going to have to throw the football, because that's where their weakest is in the secondary. And, they can score points. So I think this is a sneaky over game as well. But Dobbs might get more targets because Christian Watson might not play, or he's banged up and he might be limited. So I would expect, a little bit more in the target share for Romeo Dobbs. And so, and he's super cheap.
Yeah.
So that, to me, those are my kind of throw a dart plays.
Yeah, I like Dobbs. He's looked better lately. He's catching some of those they run those slant flats a lot, and he's catching the slants now. And it's kind of how we thought it would be earlier in the year when he had a lot of hype in training camp. So, if Watson is out or limited, he's a nice play. I was struggling with that Vikings-Packers game. I wanted to play Vikings, but the Packers do have, they've got some talent in the secondary. I didn't want to play Dalvin Cook, though. I couldn't figure out where to get a piece of that game. And I think Dobbs makes a lot of sense. He's cheap, and he could score a touchdown for sure. But yeah, otherwise, love it. That Lions defense, I can't figure them out for Herbert because they were really bad this year. They started to come around, and then they got gashed by the Panthers last week on the ground. So I'm not sure if they're improving or they just had a little, hot stretch there, and we should be targeting them. So I could definitely see Herbert having a nice game. But otherwise, for me, at receiver, like Garrett Wilson without Zach Wilson in there, with Mike White in there, he's been putting up excellent numbers. He's a target hog for them. I like that matchup at Seattle. I think the Jets are going to have to throw it a little bit on Seattle. That was kind of the first receiver I picked. And then Devontae Smith is just like a cheaper version of he's the cheapest big play threat in the Eagles passing game. So that's why I went there. AJ Brown, I prefer him, but Smith's a lot cheaper. And then DJ Chark has been really good. He's had a down week here or there, but he's a big play threat. And I just thought for 6,000, he was a nice bargain. So this was kind of my discount wide receiver week when I usually pay up a little more, but I think there's a lot of big play potential here. So I actually like it. And then pairing Smith with Goddard, I think there's plenty to go around in that Eagles passing game.
I'm not loving the Brown pick that I made, but he's cheap. He's got big play potential, and Atlanta's not great against the pass. So you're just kind of hoping he maybe hits one or two. In particularly if this is also DeAndre Hopkins might not play. So there's a little bit of that too. Hopkins definitely let me down last week. So I'm not necessarily loving that play, but it's a cheap play to try to get these other guys in. And then DJ Moore, I actually think is pretty good value. Tampa Bay's improving a little bit, but DJ Moore's been playing pretty good football with Sam Darnold. So I like that. And then we both have the defenses in the Cleveland-Washington game. We just chose the opposite side. They're essentially the same. Cleveland, to me, I get to bet against Carson Wentz, which I like. And then you're taking a better defense. Maybe not. They're about the same in terms of fantasy purposes over the course of the year. And the Browns have been pretty disappointing on defense, but they've had some good games, and they still have the talent to be able to take advantage of a team like Washington on offense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A big thing for the Browns is if they get the lead or not. They're not good against the run, but they've got Myles Garrett. They can get after the quarterback. So if they get a lead, it's going to be a rough spot for Wentz. And that's kind of how things snowball for fantasy defenses. So I do like that. I went with Washington because they're at home. It's kind of a boring reason, but take the home defense. And Deshaun Watson has not looked very good so far. So it's always fun betting against Deshaun Watson too. So I'll take that as a Bengals fan. It's doubly fun. So let's get some sacks here from the Commanders.
I love it. All right. Let's go on to our survivor pool, dead pool for me. Nitty gritty time. You can clinch a victory in this competition this week if you get both of yours right. There's no way that I can sneak back up on you here. So It's an odd week, so I go first. So we will go me, you. That's how we'll do it.
Okay.
So there's a few teams that I was hoping that you might be stuck early in this one. I'll be honest with you. I was kind of hoping you'd be stuck with some tough decisions. But I think there's some good ones out there. I'm gonna bet against the Bears. Sorry guys, but this is the time to take the Lions, who I think aren't a bad football team. They're playing for their playoff lives. They're at home. They're a much better home team than they are a road team. And they have a Bears team that doesn't really have anybody on defense. So I'm going to start off by taking the Lions.
Okay. And I could not remember if I went first or second, and there are lots of kind of similar options here. So let me make sure that I am not missing anyone real quick. I do like the Lions pick. They were on my radar. It worries me, those divisional games, a little bit for sure, but the Lions have so much more to play for right now. Like at some point you kind of have to just hope for the best in your Survivor League, and they definitely need the win here. So, oh man, I am making sure I am not picking the same team twice here, but I think I'm good here. I'm probably missing someone obvious. I'm not going to lie. I'm on the road, Jeff. I'm kind of all out of whack here, so don't have my dual monitors. Let's go though with I don't think I've taken the Jaguars, have I?
I
believe so.
don't think so.
No, give me the Jaguars. I know there's some worry that they're going to take it easy because they're mainly looking forward to next week. I know Houston's been playing better, but Trevor Lawrence looks so good right now. Just give me Trevor Lawrence. I know he's on the injury report. Maybe I regret this if he pops up and misses the week, but I don't see any indication of it. So give me the Jags, and I'll figure out the next pick from here.
Okay. I can't block you. I already took the Jags. I have a strike from the Jags, but I already took the Jags. So it's actually pretty funny that we're taking the Lions and the Jags in the spot together, because they're very similar in a lot of ways, right? They've had very similar seasons. They've had high draft picks last year. They've come up. They're kind of surprise teams of that they could be in the playoffs. The Lions could win a wild card spot. The Jags could surprise and win their division. So pretty cool stories for those two teams. They're kind of up and coming, and funny that we're taking them here in these spots. So that makes sense. So I'm actually going to take the Falcons at home against the Cardinals. Again, they are not a very good football team, but the Cardinals are definitely not a good football team right now. So I'll take the home team. It is not a divisional game. I'll take the home team. I'm also doing this because the only other option that I would consider for myself right now would be the Giants. The Giants are 5.5-point favorites against the Colts, or 6-point favorites, depending on where that line is for you. That's a bigger line than the Falcons, right? The Falcons are 5.5, so about the same. I might feel even a little better about the Giants. The thing is that you have taken the Giants. And so I'm trying to take something off the board to make it slightly more uncomfortable for you in your second pick. That's all that is. That was my tiebreaker there.
This is an uncomfortable pick for me, so you did a great job with that for sure. It doesn't leave me with a lot of great options here. I've taken a lot of these teams that I want to pick already. I'm basically looking at the Commanders at home against the Browns as a 2.5-point favorite. I could take, I suppose, the Patriots at home as a 2.5-point favorite. That doesn't feel real great. I'm running out of options here, Jeff. So maybe this is your strategy paid off. It took week 17 for me to run out of teams to pick, but I think I'm here. I think I'm here. I'm just going to roll with, talk about gross teams again. I think I'm going with the Commanders again. At home, they just have so much more to play for than this Browns team, and I hate backing Carson Wentz, though, Jeff, but I think they have a more complete team right now, and they've got more motivation. So that defense is good. The Browns offense has been struggling. I just have to hope that Nick Chubb doesn't get on track here, and I feel pretty good about my chances if that happens.
I find it very funny that if you would have told me that I was taking Lions and Falcons and you were taking Jags and Commanders in a Survivor Pool league, I would have been like, oh, you guys are in trouble. So
we might be.
we might be. Kind of fun. I mean, there's at this point, you're kind of flipping coins. I still have the Bucks to use. There was a point where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, the Bucks, and you just, I just want to see it. I just want to see it. Let's wait until I
Yeah.
see it. I don't feel good about them. You used
Yep.
them. You took a strike, right? Like it's
Yep.
just one of your only 2 strikes, by the way.
That was in Pittsburgh.
I
Pretty
mean,
sure.
it's just, yeah. There's a lot of teams you just can't really feel that good about. So I get to save the Giants for next week. I don't even know who they play. They might not play. That might not be anything. Try to think who else might be live for next week. I don't know. We'll have to do some studying for next week. If I can survive this week and give myself a chance next week, that's all I'm asking for. So
hey, if I went 0-2 this week, I would not be surprised. So I hope that does not happen. But I think Trevor Lawrence will bail me out. So that's what I'm hoping for in that one.
I think you're probably right. So
Yeah.
we've got a couple questions here from the boss man. Lester wants to know your opinion on Tyler Conklin versus Dawson Knox. So Dawson Knox going up against your Bengals.
Yeah.
Didn't do much against the Bears. He had like 38 yards, but I think one of those catches was a touchdown spike. So pretty good day for a tight end. And then Conklin has a good matchup against the Seahawks, but maybe not a household name necessarily. So who do you have higher up in your rankings?
I have Knox. I'd probably ride the hot hand here. He's got a touchdown 3 straight weeks. He's seeing some targets. Looks like about 20 over the last 3 weeks. Conklin has certainly spiked some nice weeks when it's not Zach Wilson. And I'm hoping that that's going to turn around as well. I don't mind him as a streaming option, but I would just take the better offense here. The more likely shootout game. It's a big game on Monday night, and I expect a lot of points to be scored. So I'd go with Knox, better shot at a touchdown, because Conklin's pretty clearly like down in the pecking order in that offense, even if we can count on some targets here, but I would take Knox for the upside.
And then Devontae Adams, still an obvious must start, or do you pivot away? Kind of probably depends on your other options, but how far down did he fall in your rankings? Is he in the teens now?
We debated the Raiders quite a bit, what to do with them on the Sit Start podcast, both Jacobs and Devontae Adams. And it's hard because it's like that DeAndre Hopkins play you mentioned last week. Like if you know you're getting 10 targets out of DeAndre Hopkins, you're probably going to play him, and you get one catch for 4 yards. And it's just kind of feels like you're playing roulette with these backup quarterbacks sometimes. And it does not help the matchup either for the Raiders. They are playing San Francisco. So yeah, you're right. We have them in the teens still. We have them wide receiver 15. Again, it's just kind of, you're probably going to get 10 targets for him. Is he going to catch 6 of them? Is he going to catch 1 of them? Like it's really hard to know until we see the game come up. But I would play him unless you have some really strong, it depends if it's like a 2 receiver league, a 3 receiver league. I'd be surprised if you have 3 receivers to play in front of him, but in a 2 receiver league, I can see it if you're loaded at receiver setting them. So we got him right around like kind of the Jerry Jeudy, Christian Kirk range, just above them. But we got Garrett Wilson ahead of him and Devontae Smith, and I would take some better passing games over that one for sure. But we'll see how Stidham is. Maybe McDaniels knows what he's doing, right? He's been saving the Jared Stidham card all season.
He knows Stidham from his days in New England, right? I mean, so there is that. I don't know. Seems a little wild, but
I would definitely say not a must start. I totally understand if you want to bail on him, but it is Devontae Adams too. So I wouldn't go overboard and play like, Jahan Dotson over him. I would still stick with, so he's got Judy, Waddle, and Kirk. That's right in the range there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, obviously, I mean, what's funny about that is your Waddle play is probably live, but you're playing a backup there too, right? So,
yeah.
Geez, it's tough, Lester. How much you got on this thing, man?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to find Waddle. I was looking right past Waddle. I think in that situation, you could bench him. I mean, those are 3 really good options. Waddle is just such a big play threat that even with Bridgewater, I would not be surprised to see him spring one. Christian Kirk, that's a good passing offense with Trevor Lawrence. Jerry Jeudy has looked pretty good lately. I would not blame you. I mean, our rankings technically have Devontae 1 spot ahead of Adams, or 1 spot ahead of Jeudy and Kirk. So technically we would still play Adams, but I do feel good enough about that group where if you don't want to deal with Stidham, just bench him. I would not fault you for it.
And the Niners defense.
Yeah, I don't know why they did this to Stidham. Why this was the week they're like, hey, buddy, get out there. Take a shot against the 49ers defense.
I think they definitely wanted to make sure that Carr didn't get hurt. And they're because they're going to trade him. So they don't want to trade a guy that just, got a injury getting beat up by the Niners. Stidham, you get beat up. You're expendable.
I feel
All
bad
right.
for Carr. I know we all on the internet kind of, he's not a top-notch quarterback, and we
Oh,
put him down from time to time, but he seems like his team loves him. He looks like a good guy in the locker room, and I don't blame him for just going home and calling it a season. Like it's,
I agree.
I don't know. I'd be mad if I was Derek Carr.
I'm definitely playing the Niners defense in my third place game, so I'm sticking with them. They've been great. I'm playing. I'm going to stick with Kenneth Walker. It was a great pickup for a while. Obviously he got hurt, and that really hurt me a little bit. Last week was not great, but I'm going to stick with him, even though it's against the Jets and he's questionable. I'm still sticking with him. DeAndre Swift against Chicago. You can talk me out of it. Brian Robinson. I'm definitely playing Brian Robinson. So I guess I put Robinson and Walker as my 1 and 2. Swift in the flex. I've got him over Singletary, which maybe I shouldn't. After what Singletary would have got me in the championship last week, but I benched him. And then Mostert against New England. Those are my options there. I'm benching Hopkins because I just can't do that. And he's hurt, but I just can't. He's got to be benched after that performance last week. Starting Jefferson, Higgins, and Chris Godwin, which Godwin didn't do much, but at least he did something. And I'm starting Fields over Burrow. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if you want to talk me out of any of those.
The Swift
by the way, Mark Andrews sucks.
What happened? He had some of his best games last year with Huntley at quarterback. So I did not see this coming. I kept assuming he'd bounce back. So the Swift one has been tough for me all year. I was pretty high on him last week. He obviously did not have a good week. He did play like 56% of the snaps, though. Like, he is on the field a lot more now. He's kind of taken some work from Jamal Williams. Like, he's on the right path. He had 5 targets last week. It just did not happen. The Lions running game has kind of slowed down a bit lately. It's not quite as much of a force as it was early on. So Swift's a tough one. I keep going back and forth on him. Where do I have him? I have him RB22 in my rankings. So he's an RB2. He's obviously better in PPR leagues and half PPR leagues where you get some reception bonus. So, but no, I think everything else sounds good. Burrow, Fields. You're on Fields. You were on the Fields Burrow call last week, so I'll defer to you on that one. So, do you think it was mainly just the opponent last week for Fields?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's no one to throw to. The guys are getting a little healthier this week, but I thought there was no chance against the Bills, and they didn't help him out. And then Burrow, I just felt more confident, but you can feel more confident about a team that's not yours. So that's what we're doing. We're playing with that. I think the Bills are a really good defense, and so I'm a little worried about that Monday night game in terms of points. I mean, it could be one of those things where the offenses just turn on and they get that like anything you can do, I can do better mentality, and Burrow and Allen just go back and forth, and it becomes like an MVP performance for one of them. Like, they both think that they're playing for the MVP right then, right? Like, if Burrow comes out and he throws 4 touchdowns on the Bills and leads them to a victory, and like, he's going to be in the MVP conversation, right? If Allen comes out and makes a statement win, they go on the road, they beat a tough team, and it's because he put them on their back. He gets back in that MVP. I know we're kind of going right now. Everybody's kind of giving it to Mahomes, but the Bills go wire to wire, and they beat the Chiefs, and they're the number 1 seed. I don't know, man. I think so. To me, this is an MVP game, and so it could be that big overs, and maybe you take that. But I think the flip of that can be true too, where it's a slug 'em out playoff game. Defenses come to play, and it's actually like points are a premium. So for me, the Fields is a safer bet for that reason. But like, for me, I actually don't want to bet on tomorrow's game. I wrote a column on it, because it's the Monday night game and all. Not tomorrow night's game, Monday night's game. I actually don't want to bet on it. I just want to enjoy it. This is a playoff game, and more like, this is 2 playoff teams that we might see them in the AFC Championship game. We might see them in the divisional round, whatever. Like, these are 2 teams that I'm really excited about seeing in the postseason. I just kind of want to enjoy it.
Yeah, That's the best when we don't have to be stressed out. We can just enjoy the game, not worry about if Devin Singletary is getting touches or not. I'm totally on board with you. I think for the Bengals offense, it's kind of like, well, which offense are we going to get? That first half against New England last week on the road in the freezing cold against the Bill Belichick defense that's still really good this year. He put up like full game numbers in the first half. They were unstoppable.
26 completions in the first half.
Yeah. So he looked awesome. Second half was kind of more a supporting cast than him himself, but they obviously, I don't think they put up any points in the second half. So it's kind of which half are we going to get here from the Bengals? I would expect a really good game from Burrow, but again, like we said last week, I'm so high on Fields as a rusher that as long as you can tell me they're still going to keep running Fields, I am going to play him a lot. So I don't blame you for starting Fields, but I'm really excited about this Bengals game. It's going to be at home. It's going to be fun to see the stadium packed, and it's kind of weird for the Bengals that they still need to win next week against the Ravens to win the division unless the Ravens fall this week. So it's like, it's so similar to last year with the Bengals where it felt like it was a playoff game from like week 12 on. And they're doing the exact same this year. It's pretty wild to see happen 2 years in a row.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna struggle during an NFL season, doing it early in the year is the way to do it. Playing good football now is a good thing. So, how's your Scott Fishbowl doing?
I am out now. It was this is the final week, and it was the top 30. So I think I finished in the 50s, maybe something like that. So it was a good run. I lost Jalen Hurts for last week, so that stung a little bit. And then I always knew the upside of my team was a little limited because I drafted Breece Hall and Javonte Williams. So my running backs were just kind of backups throughout the year. So, but I think what really did me in was Stephon Diggs last week had a pretty bad game, and a couple receivers like that let me down. So I had TJ Hawkinson. I got that monster performance, but didn't quite make the final 30. But I mean, there's thousands of people in that league, so I will gladly take the semifinals. It was a lot of fun.
That's great. That's a great finish. I assume the best you've done.
Oh yeah, for sure. The previous years I've tried to, it's very quarterback heavy. It's a 2-quarterback league, and there's a lot of penalties if quarterbacks throw picks, or used to even lose points for sacks. And I used to try to kind of wait a little bit on quarterback and get cute with it. And I had some bad years doing that. So this year I took Mahomes and Hurts, and that would be my strategy. So, but it was a rough week. Last week was tough for me. I had so many teams with a bye going into the playoffs, and I just got wiped out everywhere last week. So the cold weather did not help out my team. So I've just got, I think, a dynasty team left at this point. So hopefully I can win that one for sure. Get a few third place finishes, scratch out some money.
Yeah, kind of get your money back. And I'm down to one league. I try to make it simple on myself and kept the home league, that I don't run. I gave up everything that I ran just to like simplify my life. And I've won that league 2 years in a row, and it has a traveling trophy. And honestly, I'm kind of happy to like give it back and let somebody. 3 times. I know flags fly forever. I've clearly I would have been happy to take a victory. Don't get me wrong, but there are other people in the league, and you want to keep people interested and excited.
Exactly.
And the guy that like does this as his like side gig, him winning the league every year isn't great for everybody else. So I'm happy. The guy that beat me, I'm very happy with. He had a great draft. We have one keeper. That's the league now. They changed the rules because I kind of dominated with my keepers. So they changed it to 1, and my keeper was Akers, and I dropped him at some point because like he was just so bad. My keeper for going into next year, I'll keep. I'll almost certainly keep Treylon Burks. I basically held on to him all year just because I keeper element for next year. But this guy's keeper is actually Jamar Chase. He got him at a decent spot last year in the draft, so we kept him. It cost us 2 rounds above where we drafted him. Okay. And I'm more of a take a guy late and hold on to him for a lottery ticket, so you get a free RB1, RB2, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, whatever. But he more of a mid-round pick, and it hit, and he had a really big advantage, and then he had a very nice draft, and so I'm very excited for him. Hopefully he's able to take it down. The guy that he's playing against has been he got second the last 2 years, so that guy's very happy that he's not playing me in the finals because he's gotten beaten by me the last 2 years. But it's fun, I'm glad happy that I defended the title with a playoff appearance, but I'm totally fine with losing. It's wasn't that big of a deal. And he made benching mistakes too. It's not like it was all on me. We both left a lot of points on the bench. So Anyway,
Yeah, the fantasy playoffs are tough, and especially last week with all the weather and the backup quarterbacks, and it was just not the best offensive week in the world. So
right.
no shame in losing last week. I certainly lost a bunch of them. So I'm similar in my home league. We keep one keeper. I think I'm going with AJ Brown next year. It's tough when you get in a one keeper league in your home league and you go a few years without a real good keeper. It's a tough hole to dig out of. So AJ Brown's not the best keeper in the world, but that's where I'm at right now. So yeah, just hang on to your good keepers. That's all I can say.
It's a good keeper. It depends on the rules too, right? Like if the rules are like one keeper, whatever, then and everybody keeps it, and that's not, to me that's fine. But if it's where it escalates and how much it costs you, it's better to try. To me, it's better to try to like hit a lottery ticket late, and then you get to keep that guy for a while. I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to just be like, oh, my guy is Christian McCaffrey and I get to keep him every year. Like that's fine if that's your league setup, but that's not what this is. So,
we
draft
have some
anybody in the first 2 rounds, you can't keep him the next year.
Oh, well, yeah, ours is just one keeper. Doesn't matter the round. It's basically your first round pick. So I used to be the guy that got to keep, Todd Gurley every year and those types of players. So I'm still kind of digging out of it. I thought my Javonte Williams, DeAndre Swift combo would get me at least one keeper this year, but didn't work out.
Swift was my second pick, and that was a big mistake. Akers being my keeper, that didn't do anything for me. And then Andrews, that's tough. That's really kept me from having a pretty dominant team. I liked my team, but just didn't have it this year. So, we'll try again next year.
Right, exactly.
All right, we'll get out of here. You've been on the road. You're on the road. Appreciate you joining us from there, and appreciate everybody for joining us a day early. And have a safe and happy New Year's. Do not do anything too crazy, and let's try to get some championships.